U.S. regime change interventionism is reliably disastrous, and other notes. Trump has bizarrely announced that the airspace over Venezuela is closed, posting the following on Truth Social on Saturday. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. End quote. It isn't even clear what precisely the president means by this. Are they about to start shooting down Venezuelan aircraft like they've been blowing up boats? Are they preparing for a ground invasion? Whatever it is, things are looking ugly. Washington is banging the war drums, trying to justify regime change interventionism in Venezuela under the ridiculous claim that it's about fighting drug trafficking, just as Trump announces that he will pardon former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who the U.S. convicted of drug trafficking charges just last year. Drugs come into the United States from numerous nations in Latin America, and it sure is an awfully interesting coincidence that the one they're focused on regime changing to stop the drug flow just so happens to be the socialist country with the largest proven oil reserves on the entire planet. Americans who've been rejecting the propaganda for wars in the Middle East, but now fully buy into it for regime change in Venezuela, are the weirdest. That's like managing to pull your head out of your ass, taking a deep breath, and then shoving it right back in there. U.S. regime change interventionism is reliably disastrous, and it's always justified based on lies. This would be true even if Venezuela really was a major drug trafficking threat, and even if Maduro really was the world's most evil dictator, neither of which are the case. Only idiots and sociopaths are clapping along with the war drums. A man opened fire on National Guardsmen near the White House the other day, killing one and seriously wounding another. He was captured alive and will likely face terrorism charges. As it turns out, the guy is an Afghan national who worked for a CIA zero-unit death squad enforcing the USA's occupation of his home country. Washington is always making completely nonsensical additions to its list of terrorist organizations like Antifa and the completely fictional Cartel de los Soles, but it's a well-established fact that the strongest predictor of future terrorist behavior is employment with the U.S. war machine. There's a video going around showing a room full of Israeli youths squealing with delight at the sight of their nation's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who is such a genocidal Nazi that he's been sanctioned by imperial core states like the UK, Canada, and Australia. The kids in the video are seen screaming and swooning for this psychopathic monster like the girls in those old Beatles concert videos. 2 months ago, after the so-called ceasefire deal was announced, the New York Times editorial board banged out a piece saying Gaza is going to need de-radicalization programs in order to remove Hamas's pervasive radicalizing influence over Gazan society. But clearly it's Israeli society that needs de-radicalizing. One of the reasons anti-Semitism claims have stopped getting traction is because once people started questioning the narrative, there's a special group of white people whose feelings must take priority over every possible concern, it was never going to hold up under scrutiny. State prosecutors are reportedly handling more than 300,000 desertion-related cases in Ukraine because nobody wants to fight and die in this stupid, pointless war anymore. Desertion rates say Ukrainian soldiers don't want this war. Polls say Ukrainian civilians don't want this war. Yet the war keeps going, because the Western power structure which actively provoked it wants it to continue. If I had told you 5 years ago that I had just invented a product which ends the careers of professional artists and makes it impossible to tell what's real on the internet, would you have said I should be given billions of dollars immediately? Or would you have said I should be fed to crocodiles? The debate about generative AI is interesting because it's all the brilliant, creative people who value truth and the human intellect on one side, and all the uncreative, intellectually sluggish people who can't write a paragraph on the other. And the latter group is winning because they've got capital on their side.